just gonna test this quickly. Can you see my hands? So today I'm going to do some painting. Get some of these guys actually painted. Just gonna check if this is looks okay on the other end. Okay, decent, decent. So yeah, I'm gonna get some of these mutants slash chaos slash whatever the hell they are. These conversions. I've been posting them on like everything, Instagram and everything. So I got some undercoat on these guys, and it's gonna put some acrylics on them basically, and then come back with the oils after, because I've kind of done that with these guys here. In the last stream, I tried to just do oils straight on, and it works pretty well. Like they look pretty cool, but I think some acrylics. So this guy, this is all acrylics, and then if I put oil on him, then I think it'll just really bring it together. Who else? Yeah, this guy got oils on him as well, I think. So they're nearly done. They're all like scratch built, kind of built on top of the army men that you might have or that I have on Instagram and stuff like that. But literally color wise, it's just going to be kind of free for all, whatever I feel like. So these are the guys I'm going to be looking at right now. And I'm just going to pop some colors on the wet palette and see what happens really. I'll try to find a decent brush, because literally all my brushes are crap, to be honest. I take terrible care of them. Literally, I don't take care of them. But let's see what the crack is here. I think I might just use some darker colors. I use a lot of these craft paints, and this is like in the range in Ireland. I'm sure it's in the UK as well. They're just really quite cheap. Like I think you get that. That's what was it? 59 milliliters for, I think it's maybe 120, something like that. Like cost wise, you can't beat it, and it's decent stuff. Craft paints. A lot of people use craft paints for terrain, which makes sense. I do too, obviously, because it's so cheap. But I don't mind really using it for miniatures either, considering how I paint. And I do find it hard to get darker colors for them, though. A lot of it's going to be, because it's for arts and crafts, which is kind of more like a kiddie section, really, of a shop. A lot of the time, they are brighter colors, so it's a bit harder to get gruesome, disgusting colors, But let's see what I can do here. Giving myself a range of a highlight color here, instead of a white, going for kind of a creamy yellow. Well, more to cream than yellow, really. I'm just going to chill and get some paint on these, because really, I think anything I do here will be brought together with the oils. And as you'll see here, this is pretty rudimental stuff. Like it's this is not magic. I'd consider myself at the best of times, like tabletop standard basically. But there's going to be a lot of wet blending and just straight off the palette, kind of not really too much second guessing what I'm doing, But I've got in the background as well. If you haven't listened to this mix, this is like lo-fi Lord of the Rings mix. It's pretty sweet. If you haven't checked that out, when I listened to it first, I thought it was a bit much, but it works pretty well. It's pretty chill, and it's like familiar. You know what I mean? It's the theme music or whatever soundtrack from the movies, which I think is probably quite nostalgic to a lot of people of a certain generation, which I would consider myself. So I don't know how that's showing up, but literally I'm just getting some color on these guys, and then I'll probably go back with a dry brush. Like if I do these different kind of shades of green, brown on this guy, I think if I dry brush over with like a very, very light green, it will just make it pop. Just make some contrast, and then the oil should save it. Save it in the end, you know what I mean? But these chaos guys are so kind of random and made from all bits and bobs. It's really anything goes to an extent. This guy's actually got chainmail on his arms here. I actually used a bit from a 28mm Knight multi-plastic set. I think it was actually some bits that I got off eBay probably. On this guy, I'm gonna put some black. And actually, like I have shelves of paints over there, a mix of, you know, some GW stuff, some Army Painter, Vallejo stuff, just all sorts of stuff, but just for handiness, because they're right there. And I've got shelves of other craft paints. Just using the craft paints because they're there, you know what I mean? And it has the same kind of coverage that I'm looking for, so I'm not too bothered. I'll actually put some metallic here. So as you can see, it's not magic, it's just literally covering them, and maybe even if it's quite a thin layer, because I don't want to wreck any of the detail or the texture. Let's just show any audio on this. Listen to my annoying voice. Okay, there's some kind of audio. Fair enough, that's enough, that's grand. But yeah, like I said, try to get some painting done on a quiet Friday evening. The idea with these chaos guys, this whole kind of force I'm making here, it's not for any particular game or anything like that. It's literally just for the fun of making them. And I've kind of put them on a regiment base. You might see here like this kind of scratch build. I don't know what you'd call it, regimental base. That fits them pretty well, pretty tight. And I'm kind of planning on having two squads or regiments, I suppose you'd call them, of 15. And like I said, not for any particular game, but just to have like a completely custom scratch built army, and just for the fun of making them, and then, you know, eventually maybe use them for potential games. There's a lot of those miniature agnostic, what are they called, miniature, basically the games that they don't have a particular range. There's a word for it, miniature agnostic. Oh, that doesn't sound right to me, maybe I'm wrong. Hey Paul, how's it going? Cheers for the tip on the audio. Yeah, I wasn't sure. At least I didn't mess up the stream. How many times was it before? Geez, I think, was it 3 or 4 times before it actually came to be anything? So yeah, look, literally this guy is just getting some blotchy base coats on him. With some kind of snot. It's kind of a goblin green, I suppose. Classic color goblin green. Even that is kind of like slightly nostalgic. And I wouldn't have been heavy in the actual like the GW scene. I think I went to a GW actual agnostic. Yes, thanks, Paul. Yeah, like cheers. I knew I kind of had an idea that's what it was, but I just wasn't sure. I went to a GW when I was maybe 12 or 13, and I, was buying some White Dwarfs and that. So I kind of knew the armies that were coming out, and I think I'd had Tau and stuff like this, and got for my birthday, and because they were the new army when I started in the hobby. Like my first box was probably a regiment of orcs. I'm pretty sure it was like a regiment of plastic Warhammer orcs, which, to be honest, are class. Is class kit, like multi-part plastic. Um, if I saw one of them up on eBay now, I'd probably try and get it like completely fresh box, just because the bits are so good. You could use them for your, well, they're quite good for snake bites actually. So you got kids in the background. Hopefully he doesn't wake up. But yeah, that orc regiment is just class. So I think I'm probably going to call him Dawn. Well, for base coat anyway. And as you can see, it's as messy as possible. The lighting is quite weird actually. Don't know how I had it sorted last time, but it seemed to work a little bit better last time. Like, that's not anything amazing, literally. You know what I mean? I never said I was any level of painting channel or anything like that. I pick out some slight metallics. I have this kind of tin bits or kind of a dirty bronze um, on my palette here from something I was doing the other day. This paint palette's actually quite good. What is it? Red Grass Games paint palette. Like, I got it for either Christmas or my birthday because I'd been using one that was literally, you know, a Chinese takeaway container with some parchment paper. And you know what? It was grand. It worked grand. But this one, this red grass one, the paints last ages. It's just more airtight or something. And I've never switched out the paper yet. That goes to show how much I've painted. Like, if I got this for Christmas, this is like, halfway through the year, which is kind of crazy. I feel like this year's is flying altogether. I'm going to call him done for base layers anyway. It's kind of a weird one. He's not one of my favorites now. He won't be one of my kind of favorites that I've made recently. So next guy I'm going to do just different colors, and I think I might make him a bit more fleshy because he's more naked. You'll see what I mean. He's kind of got boobs and stuff like that. For what I don't really know why I, sculpted it like that, but that's what I felt like at the time. Scale color. These ones actually have kind of dried up for me. I want to give him some kind of fleshy color. So this guy is what I'm doing next. He's got this big spiky axe, a big jaw. The head was originally a blue stuff cast of an old orc. So he's got the head and he's got a little arm kind of pushing his head. He's got a big belly. He's got two boobs hanging off the side there for whatever reason, little stumpy legs. And yeah, that's it. You know what I mean? Pretty standard stuff. He's unique anyway. We'll give him that. You know what I mean? Well, literally, I'm going to do maybe like a dirty purple. Dirty purple. That's not very dirty. Dirtier purple. But I've never been one for kind of painting in general. It has always been my least favorite steps in the whole process. I probably enjoyed it when there was that magazine, the Middle Earth one. I think that got a lot of people into the hobby. Battles for Middle Earth games. What was it called? Middle Earth strategy battle game. That's what it's called now. I'm pretty sure, or Hobbit battle game. But do you know the magazine? And you'd get, I think it was fortnightly, And you get, I think the first episode, the first issue had 12 goblins, and it could have been like, geez, it was probably like €3 or something, you know. And then you get your force of goblins there. I'll have to dig them out. I actually found them at home recently. My Lord of the Rings minis all up in the attic. And the paint jobs, like I thought they were decent at the time, but I say if I looked at them now, I might cringe. But look, to be fair, it's not got much better. This guy's going to be dirty purple, kind of layered up into, not layered, but wet, blended up into a green. And do you know why that is? Because it was on my palette, so that's what's happening. But I think when these guys are all ranked up together, it's going to look cool. That's child in the background coughing on the monitor. I'm sure everybody knows that feeling. You're there like, oh shit, is he going to wake up? But these guys are all on like round bases, so like I kind of thought that the round bases would work for, you know, any skirmish game, or like these guys could be used for like all those kind of weird, gloomy, Forbidden Psalm type games, you know. The grim dark aesthetic is kind of popular enough in a fair few games. Like what's the other one? Verminwood or something like that. I'm saying that wrong as well, but that's another one that's kind of an indie game, kind of a folk horror. Um, that I've seen. Kind of, it's new there recently that I haven't picked it up or anything. The stuff I'm kind of hoping to play, you know, at some stage. I've still not made it out to that gaming group though. I know I said in a recent video, I think I said, or stream even, I said I found a local gaming group, and between the rigmarole or everything going, family and all that crack, I just haven't been out there yet, which is, you know, it's hard. It's hard to find time. So this is pretty slapdash looking. Like the highlights are uh, pretty messy. But like I said, I think when the oil gets on it, it'll really bring it together. I might add some more black as well, just because these are looking kind of bright. I've had one or two people as well ask, did I want to like um, stream with them, like just for a chat, which actually would be sweet to be honest. But I don't know if it's much more of a setup. You know what I mean? Because obviously with two people you have to kind of set it up, and you have to be right. We agree. Right, I'm free this evening. Yeah, yeah, that's grand. We'll set it up. Um, which is one side of it, but it's the technical side of it as well. I'm not sure if there's much difference to the setup, as in, do you have to do it through Discord or anything like that? Because I'm sure it's handy enough to do, but it's just something I'm not aware of. And if it's anything like trying to get the stream in the first place, could be a bit of crack getting together. It's actually listening to a podcast, Mud and Blood, I think it is. It was someone had actually shared it on their story on Instagram. Like my Instagram is literally just full of, you know, miniature stuff. Either people doing conversions, or basically that's it, conversions and different kind of games and that. And someone had shared on their story basically this podcast that had done an interview with Rick Priestley, I think it is. And one of the guys, if not the guy, I suppose, that would have wrote, been a main writer, lots of the editions of Warhammer and that kind of thing. So he's one of those kind of OGs in GW. And when he was talking about like their influences and stuff like that, it's literally like, for one, it was right. Well, what's the creatures in this kind of universe? Is literally the 40k universe are going to be the creatures that are from Warhammer, just with guns, laser guns, even. And when you think about it from that point of view, so many decisions were made because, okay, fact that we're not going to risk all the time and money and effort, sculpting or coming up with all these new creatures and races and lore for potential project or product that won't take off. So a lot of the design decisions were probably made because of financials and that kind of thing, which is, it's pretty real world kind of stuff. But it's just interesting to hear it from someone that was there in the office when this stuff was being talked about. Because you'd hear so many stories about, was it Gazgul Traka, its name, or about the, was it Arbites being like Drudge Dread and all this kind of stuff, which, and influences and that kind of thing, which is obviously, I mean, of course you're going to be influenced by the media and the stuff more in the world going on when you're creating, you know what I mean? That's why a lot of people make things, I think. Or even like, books or movies or any sort of media you might have taken in. Like I've said it before, like Instagram and that kind of thing would be my main source of like new techniques or a new style of miniatures, like all this grim dark, all this dirty kind of high texture kind of stuff. Is that gonna This kind of stuff is just all from Instagram, all from where I saw it first anyway. Or was that John Blanche kind of art style? Which as well, that's what your man Rick Priestley was saying, that like he was, let's say, doing art for Warhammer from the very beginning, like, and between himself and there was probably a few other guys that I can't remember their names now, but like they would have been very influential on the whole style and the look of the world. It's just class as it's become such a big thing, or not even necessarily that Warhammer has, but just that it's kind of popularized fantasy and obviously 40k Rogue Trader, that kind of thing, popularized the sci-fi side of it. When from what I've been hearing from other podcasts or people that were in the hobby previously years and years ago, it would have been all uh, historicals, which is class. Like it's just a different audience really, and I'm sure we'll say the historical guys have their opinions on the before times were better, maybe that kind of thing. But sure, look, this is just terrible for focusing, isn't it? Even if it's not, I don't know, it's not magic to be focusing on anyway. But like, that's him basically with base cuts, I'd say. Might do a little bit more around his face. I'd say now this is pretty slapdash even for me, because it's hard to actually get close to the mini to see what I'm doing with the camera and everything. But sure, look, I'll make that sacrifice. So in the background, actually, I have these other guys for this Chaos Force. I'm just going to call it Chaos Forces. That's kind of what it is. Like I've been even generating like AI generated like let's say images and that kind of thing for inspiration. Um, just because it's like it's so tempting to do. And I was there. If there's a day or two there that I was just at it the whole time, just coming up with an idea and going like, oh yeah, I want to see what that looks like. And it's great. Like it's never, rarely is it kind of exactly what you're looking for or hits the mark like first time. Rarely, but I think maybe once I was going to say once I get some highlights on this guy, his arm here. I think I'll call this guy done. And I go for a different color for another guy. I think I'm liking this kind of blending it up to a flesh color. Especially with this guy here. Apologies if you're actually watching this, most of the time it's out of focus. So a lot of this is just, everything is just wet blending. But I think it just works. Yeah, I think I call him done for this stage anyway. No, I don't even mind about that. That foot is completely lost. Yeah, do you know what I could do? Potentially turn it here. Oh, I got more people. How's it going? More people. What I'm talking about is like 2 people. That's okay. At least I'm at some level. I'm not exactly talking to myself 100% of the time. Not too bad, man. Not too bad. Trying to get some paint on something. You know what I mean? What's going on, guys? As you can see, this is not, Squidmar level. But like I've said before, I've never said I was Squidmar level. Literally, it's green. But I think that's enough for this guy. Every time I say that, I see a little bit more that I could probably just fix up. But the oil washes really do help. Yeah, Squid. Well, I mean, to be fair, Squidmar's on. He's a different side of the hobby altogether. But I think it's one of those things that it's great that you see people with, studios and staffs of people putting together videos and putting so much money into the hobby, and it's just making it more of a legit thing in the whole kind of entertainment sphere. I think that it's not just, it's making it a wee bit more mainstream again, isn't it? So as you can see, this is all just craft paint. This guy is going to get some, I'm thinking red, probably dark red with some, highlights and lighter up to kind of a flesh color, I think. This kind of pale skin one that I used for the previous guy. Sure, look, I'll slap it on and see what happens. I did actually get some paint on the other guys here. This guy, I might go back with a dry brush with some light flesh. Like this guy hasn't got inks on him yet, or not inks, oil paints. Once he gets the oil on him and I highlight him back again, I think he'll look pretty cool. But yeah, bringing out all the texture quite nicely. This guy's got acrylics on him, so once he gets the oils on, he'll be done. This guy's a bit mad looking, actually. This sassy owl man. I didn't do his pupils yet. I need to do his pupils. His feet and his arse and his strangely colored. Looks like coral or something, you know, like coral reef on his head there. His little weird chicken, well, not chicken, owl wing arms. So I don't know what kind of good he'd be in a fight, but sure, look, he'll be in a regiment anyway. This guy, I think he'll look well with some washes on him. His big gnarly weapon. This guy. So as you can see, there's no kind of set color palette or anything like that. But the simple paint jobs just make them. It's so easy when there's so much detail, so much texture there. Between, you know, I could have dry brushed these, and they could look good. Do you know what I mean? This guy's very Nurgle, kind of greens, bits of purple in him. I couldn't help it. He kind of just looked like what do they call it? They call pox walkers or something like that. Now this guy's a bit odd. Don't know if he's actually going to go in the regiment or not. Quite colourful. Bird head man. And then there's other guys kind of in progress, sculpting wise. This guy's still going. I did his other arm. I have to do his hand. Might redo his face a little bit and then texture up his back. I think he'd be ready then for spraying. This guy, if you can recognize the Pokemon that he might have been originally. Cheers, Paul. Yeah, they're all just, you know, the army men, you know, with stuff on top of them. This demon fella messing with some green stuff on his face there. It was Electabuzz originally. Little figure of Electabuzz. This guy's still on the go. Two-headed dogman, I suppose. I have to do his tail. I was thinking of maybe giving him horns, but at one point one of his little knives broke, so I had to give him a new one. And apart from that, yeah, his tail and horns or ears, maybe. I've not really decided. Literally either or, doesn't really matter. This guy as well has this poor fella got a bad roll on the mutation table, and he's got an arse on his head. So he's pulling up his kind of tunic here, I'd say, his rags, and I'm going to give him a little rag, and he's going to be cleaning his arse because he's like shitting on his own face. So that's kind of, if you get a bad roll on a chaos, you're fecked, you know. And his tunic, this is just this really thin wire is wrapped around his waist, and the tunic is the dry wipe, or not dry, the wet wipe with some PVA or Mod Podge or anything like that put through just to harden it. I think that's about it then for guys kind of on the go. This guy was being painted in the last one, and I put some more acrylics on him, and he's coming together pretty nice, to be honest. He's probably one of my favorites. Probably just the face really, really works. Kind of odd, you know, smile. Then working in the background. I may as well show you, to be honest, because I don't think I'll be doing an update video. This one has a bird head, kind of more, is it Zinch? He's possibly going to have a spear or something like that. So this guy's, you know, completely scratch built. He's not going to be from an army man. Next guy is this little, what would you call him? Not a nerdling, but a Nurgle looking fella. He's going to be really short, but like, we'll say jacked, I'd say, but he's kind of goofy looking. Quite simple head sculpt, but I had fun. Just put together some of these, just literally on some twisted wire on the handle, because you need the handle. If you're going to be sculpting, the handle is the way to go, even if they're as bandy as this, you know what I mean? And that's green stuff. And then I put the polymer clay on it as the green stuff it wasn't set. And so I can work with the polymer clay. And they're about the scale of, you know, 28mm head, maybe a wee bit bigger, but sure, look, they're demonic in that kind of crack, so you can kind of get away with it. This guy as well, he's just kind of like a human, I suppose, if a bit odd looking. And he was going to have, you know, greasy, disgusting hair coming down and maybe a little knife. So he's going to be more just humanoid. But he's stuck in this, you know, big rabble of like monsters and shit. So That's where he is. These guys now. This is obviously just becoming a project altogether and kind of leaning away from just using the army men. But these are little. I don't know where I got these now, to be honest. But these little critters, they're just on top of each other. I might give them a big weapon, or I might resculpt their heads and make them look a little bit more demony. So they're on one base together. This guy as well, quite rough. I just literally blue tacked that on to give him a weapon. And that's polymer clay that will probably be resculpted over, but the idea is he doesn't have a head. We'll say his face is in his chest. This guy was actually, he's probably going to look pretty cool when he's done, actually. So the hot glue was used a lot on this. The face is a squig face, but it was blue stuff, a cast of blue stuff. And he's got a shell from a real snail. He's just going to be kind of like a snail man, goopy snail man. That's what I'm saying. The fact he's on like a round base, like I feel like these guys could be used in, skirmish games or whatever, could be D&D or whatever. So I just kind of justified it by making these bases that they could all go together in some kind of weird rabble. This big guy, not really much decided for him yet. I'm probably going to give him some kind of big mad weapon. But same thing again, the head was just a polymer clay sculpt, messing around with some stuff. Same with this guy, this poor guy. He looks like a, I don't know, bulldog man or something like that. Sad state of affairs, but he's got this cool spiky sword, so you know what I mean. See how he turns out. I think I've got enough made now for 2 regiments of 15. Well, not actually made, but I mean started at least. And then there's this guy, just another bit of sculpt, bit of messing with sculpting just to throw it in the oven, see how it turns out. And not a lot of these are actually glued together either, so they're just blue tack to kind of see how it looks. But the polymer clay is it's just great stuff. I've actually ordered some bees putty, I think is the name of the stuff. I've seen a lot of people, well, not necessarily recommend, but I've seen good reviews, and then it seems to be firmer. I got a pack that kind of gives you different options for how firm it is, because a lot of the polymer clay I have is, cheapy kid stuff, which, seems to work just as well. Seems to, you can still use it, but I just want to, just because I've been at it for a while, to put some money into it and see what other options are out there. See if it's easier to use or what can I do, because you wouldn't really go through too much of it really. So as you can see, this is very, very messy, literally just mixing the paint on the model. But if I can get these few guys done, I think I'm doing all right. I think like I can kind of just keep shiting on about hobby stuff and that for ages. But if I had someone else on, like I said earlier, if I had someone else on to chat to, might be a nice difference than just hearing me shiting on constantly. I'd say now, if you're at a certain level of painting, or a certain level of painting is expected of you, like I'd say it's quite intimidating to paint on stream with people like watching you and that kind of thing. Like literally right now, I'm just slapping this on, so I'm making some level of choices between like where to put the paint and mix it, highlight wise and stuff like that. But it's quite simple stuff, I'm not even picking out any details really. It's just to get some coverage on. Let's see if make his claws a different color maybe later on, if I feel like it. All those was it those old books, those old, what were they called, the chaos books, Realm of Chaos and all this kind of stuff, Lost and Damned, would have the big crazy like mutation tables. I'd say they'd be fun to roll on for like, you know, a conversion kind of inspiration, even if you weren't to go, 100% on what you rolled. Just kind of go mad and see what you come up with. But so I'm sure if anybody's watching this, they'll be like, right, okay, I'm not coming to him for painting tips anyway, or fucking focusing your camera tips. But yeah, I don't know how old your kids should be before you can let them watch the Lord of the Rings movies. I was listening to this kind of stuff in the background, the lo-fi mix I was talking about, and I was like, man, I just want to. I think I think my boy would love them anyway. But think about ring raids are pretty scary. Cave trolls pretty scary. Just talking about the Fellowship, like orcs, I suppose they're probably scary. I mean, I know they're getting bet and stuff like that, but like with imaginations, kids' imaginations, they'd wake up with nightmares and stuff. With fucking orc in my bedroom and all this kind of or whatever. Yeah, I'm probably making trouble for myself between restless nights. Like, I think I saw fucking Gremlins when I was 5, and it messed me up. But like, if we were watching for Small Soldiers actually the other day, and like, I never thought of it though. Like the soldiers would be stabbing the people. Small soldiers like Chip Hazard would be stabbing the lad with a screwdriver, like or some shit. It's mad, like that was class movie though. I saw as well that they were planning on making a second one at one stage, but and it was meant to have The Rock and everything in it, but it got cancelled. But that would have been fucking mental. I feel like The Rock would have been a soldier. I don't think he would have been like a little boy that accidentally, started to sell them in his shop or something. But this guy, yeah, the painting, yeah, I forgot the painting. So this is literally higher parts are a bit lighter, lower parts are a bit darker. That's as deep as I'm going with it right now. And there's some level like of muscle structure on this guy. I think his forearms and stuff like that. But then he's also got all these mad lumps and different textures and stuff. So big hole in his back for no reason. And his chest has a bit of green on it. And you know what? It wasn't. I didn't do it on purpose, but I don't think it looks that bad, so it's going to stay there. I nearly called this guy just about done for this base layer anyway. I have 3 guys left, but I probably won't get all of them done. I don't know how long I've been going, but I was going to go for about an hour. I actually have no idea how long I've been going. Oh, about 45 minutes. Jesus. I did not realize. Because I think from my point of view, when I'm, say, painting or hobbying, I would usually have some kind of background, be it YouTube video, be it stream, something going on. Yeah, YouTube video or stream, usually not really into watching like Netflix or anything. Not much on that would draw my attention. right now anyway. Every so often, like, you know, you have to watch fucking Tiger King or whatever to know what everybody's fucking talking about. But um, I never got into Squid Games though. Totally missed the boat on that one. Which is whatever. I think I got the gist of it. Like, yeah, I'm gonna call that guy done. I think maybe a little bit more red. How many times do I say that? Oh yeah, that's done, and then I go more. So you might be saying, "Wow, these look shit," and you know what? Like, you're not wrong, but I think they look okay when they get kind of the oils on them. I'm relying a lot on the oils here. What I do, I'll make his tongue like green. This tongue reminds me of some old, not even old, but kind of Tyranid kind of stuff. There was a Carnifex that had a big spitting tongue coming out. You know what I mean? Venomous. It probably had some kind of like venom attack or something or other. Where is it? Where is it? Do you know what I mean? Tongue spitting out like that. I feel like that was some kind of Tyranid thing at one point. Tyrannid. I actually just saw these guys, minis. I use a lot of hot glue to kind of bulk them up, and then on the hot glue you can sculpt, which is sweet. I didn't realize. I think I was talking about this in the last video, so that like hot glue is quite takes green stuff surprisingly well, as in that the green stuff sticks to it. Um, I saw someone on Instagram. I should really remember her name, but she had made these little oozes, and it was just out of hot glue, and they were cute, but they were like really effective as well. 28 millimeter ooze, little ooze warriors, and they had, she'd use bits. Yeah, it'd be great if I could actually remember the person's name, so you could look at them yourself, and that'd be handy. But I don't actually remember. Um, and I think it was maybe three of them, and one of them had like a sword and a shield, and then one had probably a big two-hander or something like that. But they were, the bits were from a bits box, a different kit, and I think she had used like, was it makeup powder or something like this, like pigment powder, to like possibly tint the hot glue somehow, and it looked class. It looked kind of like it's really effective. It's like maximizing the use of the hot glue, the material. Because I've seen people make use of hot glue before, but like, sometimes they can be quite flat. Or I think the way she used the what would you call it? The powders really helped. Right, let's go with this guy maybe next. What am I thinking? So he was red, he was kind of purple, he's kind of green. Maybe I'll go blue with this guy. For no particular reason apart from I just want to change and do something different, do a different color. It's darker blue. Oh, sorry about that. Deep blue. So yeah, same again. This is just craft paints. These ones actually I don't like as much. Art Studio. These ones I like more. I don't really know why. Just that I feel like they cover a bit better. Before I go into that, actually, I'll talk a little bit more about these guys in the background. So in the background, you see. So this is a regiment, or thereabouts. This guy is going to be something. Big basher of some sort. Pig body, lots of texture, big fat rolls. This big mad weapon, which is going to be class looking. It's going to add more texture to that. If this is going to focus, demon head, mean looking guy. His hand is done okay. I think he's probably going to be rubbing his belly here of this hand. Big horns. And he'll be on a base. He'll be kind of like a heavy, I suppose. He should paint up quite nicely when I add texture to him all over. But the guys in the background here going to be chariots. So this is just all scratch built crap. Oh, that's another guy. Nothing special right now. This bug, big beetle guy I'd been making for ages, didn't really know what to do with him. I was going to turn him into a big dung beetle actually, but he's got all texture on his belly as well, which is, I don't know why I bother sculpting that because you're never going to see it. And everything's textured to fuck, like, I think it's going to paint up real nicely. And then I'll have to make special or particular army men / demon guys to go on each one of these chariots. Maybe two, probably just one in each. I don't know. I'll see. So that's that one. So they're all different styles. That's just, popsicle sticks or whatever. Coffee stirrers. Same with this one, coffee stirrers and cardboard. Very wobbly wheels, which, look retarded to be honest. They look stupid, yeah, that they're not going to work, but feck it, I think it's cool. And this is going to be pulled by this poor, demon or let's say mutant creature. Really slapdash put together polymer clay creature, and I'll probably just texture him up a little bit more. The head was from a Hassle-Free Miniatures little squig type creature cast, Blue Stuff cast as well. So he's going to be pulling that one, which will be quite cool, I think. And the last one then, this one's just making there yesterday. All bits and bobs. Some of this is like cut off lino and stuff like that. And yeah, this one's a bit more heavy duty, and it's going to be pulled by whatever this ends up being. This kind of lump of polymer clay right now. It's going to be pulled by that. Some kind of big, tough, demon-y looking creature. That's 3 of them. So I'm going to have some sort of, sorry about that, fast attack or whatever they call it in Warhammer-ish type game, flanking, and 2 bases of troops, then some kind of big heavies. This guy as well will probably fit in and make some more of these guys. On this, I think it's 32 or maybe 30 mil base, and they can fit in as well. Not exactly the same style, considering this guy's more armored and a bit more Dark Souls or something, but I think they'll all fit in together. I'll make a base of them. I think it'd be cool. And I don't think I have any plans for like any big bads, as in a demon boss or anything like that yet. But like I said, my justification is that these they're fun to make, obviously, and that's enough. But that they can be used for your RPGs or anything. And I'll have a great collection. I feel like I probably have loads of guys in a box upstairs that are made in a similar fashion. I don't think they're to the same extent, because I don't think I've ever went as far with creating units of completely custom minis. But that's my jam at the moment, so it's kind of what I'm doing. Get some black as well. Trying to darken these colors down a bit, and you're probably raging because I'm literally just almost mixing them in the pot, like taking some black out, so there's a wee bit of blue in that black now. But look, at the end of the day, I don't think it's going to make much of a difference for that one anyway. So this guy actually, he's got Goblin. This is a cast of one of those Hobbit Town or Goblin Town hobbits. Goblin Town goblins from the Hobbit minis. I love those minis. The arm, that one's sculpted, and the axe is just bits and bobs. This little arm here is sculpted, and this one is a zombie from Mantic. So I didn't fully scratch build them. So it's all lies. It's all lies. Okay, this is kind of a nice dark blue going on here. And it's going over a grey undercoat, so this is going to be the darkest. Like, if this was going over a black, I think it'd be just wouldn't have the same finish. And actually, recently, I got my first contrast paint, some kind of turquoise. And actually, I'm happy enough with it. Like, Jesus, they're expensive, but like, look, that's not magic at all, right? This Drake or something for a D&D game, board game, if it's going to focus. Um, but yeah, it's nothing crazy, but I just think it looks good for how easy it is to do. They do look very, very good. But I don't know if I could justify it cost-wise for using a lot of it. There's a kind of a Robo-Raptor, Future Raptor. I'm gonna have to figure out this focusing issue. Do you know what I mean? Especially for a stream where you're trying to show small things. But yeah, this guy's in progress, obviously. But the turquoise came out quite nice, and that's just from the contrast stuff. All right, I think I might get this guy done to an extent, and then call it a day. And you know, in the future, I should probably put some kind of not warning, not preview, something like that to say, oh lads, yeah, I might stream. But a lot of the times it's like, I don't know if I'll be able to with the kids and that kind of crack, yourself. So this guy is just basically black, blue. See what the green looks like. No second thought, just slap a bit of green on and see what happens. Kind of cool to see the mix on the Mini. I'm sure this would this isn't the way to paint according to a lot of people, but I think for minis like this, like you could probably do this with like your Nurgle fellas or your kind of demony guys like that, rather than I don't think this would work too well on your Space Marines and that kind of thing. It's very much like slap it on and see what happens. But like, this is kind of a funner way to paint, in my opinion. In my opinion. But as it goes, like, it's obviously very hard to film painting on a stream like this. I feel like we're having in focus the whole time, especially look, as I said before, I clearly don't know what I'm doing. But basically in my mind, I'm trying to have some sort of content maybe that you can listen to when you're hobbying or painting. Same as I would do. Because I know there's a lot of people obviously in the hobby space on YouTube that have, particular interests in particular games. And there's kind of like a middle ground of crafters for, D&D and that kind of thing. They all kind of mix over. And once you're in a miniature kind of hobby, you're going to be dropping your toe probably into different things like D&D, or you're probably not just going to be 40k all day forever, or Age of Sigmar all day forever. Especially once like you discover all the other different manufacturers and mad games, mad kind of minis that are out there. That's even before you get into making your own, you know. So like I said, these guys are pretty slapdash, but it's the first step, I think. Oh, that was a big chunk of paint. It'd be easier to get some highlights on these if I left them dry. But you know, then wouldn't be able to wet blend, do it all in one. I'm sure you could be skilled enough and actually just legitimately paint Space Marines like this, you know. And he looks quite glossy there because obviously the paint is wet. But these guys, I'll probably do the oils on them and then go back in and pick out little tiny, you know, just super highlights. Especially because, like, if they're going to be in a regiment, you know, they don't have to be amazing. But, like, I don't know, a big rabble of demons, big rabble of mutants. Come on, these could be used for even post-apocalyptic stuff. Mutants just turn up everywhere, you know. And the great thing is, like, wet palette, I think two big things that really made a jump in my hobby enjoyment over the years is just trying a wet palette, and for sculpting you getting handles, even if it's some bandy handles, like literally, you know, that's little cut offs of wood and screws put in fucking wonky, you know what I mean? But it works, like it's grand. And it's just so much better, lads. Like if you're looking to try do your sculpting, even if it's something really simple to start off with, you need, I'd say, the handle. It's not completely necessary, but just for, it's just so much nicer to work with, you know. I think he's about done. Put a bit of purple on his arm there for no particular reason, but it kind of works. It all blends together. And you know, these are my brushes that I use. Jesus, it's after going in all the paint, so that's probably a disaster. But yeah, that's actually not too bad. It has some sort of point to it. But yeah, I never really go too crazy with the super detailed, you know, crazy brush. Well, Bill, how you doing? Big boy Bill. Streaming's hard, Bill, for real. It's tricky stuff. I was saying the last time I was doing it, like, to talk and to do anything at the same time is tricky. As a man. But literally, I think I'm just about happy enough with this fella. Like when you get away with it, see, this head, I didn't even sculpt this head. This head was a blue stuff cast, so I didn't even have to sculpt that, but it looks like I did it, so it looks good. But I didn't actually do it. You know, I don't know. I find it hard anyway. Do you know when I'm talking to all these people, Bill? You know, my adoring fans. You know, it's just tricky. I don't know. Yeah, I think he's about good. Do you know what? That was actually pretty productive for an hour of doing anything. So I got that guy done, base layers. You know, all wet blending, messy. This fella with his 1, 2, 3, 4 tits. You know, base layered. These guys are also wet, so I probably shouldn't be touching them like that. But that guy's base layered as well. This fella, if that's going to focus, yeah. He actually turned out pretty okay. Yeah, okay, that's all I did. But to be fair, happy enough with that, and kind of give a breakdown of this chaos army, or whatever you call it. I'm doing originally, Bill, I was doing undercoating them. Then I do black and white. So black to the recesses, and then white to the highlights, just the extremes, and then doing oil over that. But the oil's just, this is one that did that, right? And it was just too extreme. All the highlights are just very, very white. And they look kind of cool, yeah. I'd say it would work well for like skeletons or something. But for these other guys, I've just started to do some, you know, green acrylics on it. So this is acrylics, and then I'll just put oil over this. And you know yourself, it'll look great after that. Or look at fuck ton better anyway. And just really pick out all the texture and that kind of stuff and do the work for you. You know, previously I've done it with like I said, the really harsh highlights and shadows of the acrylics first. But I think it's a certain look. I think it looks quite cool on certain type of minis, but like look at all that. That's it. That's just going to look cool with it, with oils through it. I think so. I think it'll save it. But that's kind of these regiments, and I'm going to add like a fair bit of texture to this guy with all that crackle paste. There's a fella. I keep saying Instagram, but there's another fellow on Instagram, and he was mad for crackle paste and all this mad texture. And literally, that's it. I just get influenced by that, and I bought some of that stuff. And I'll pop it on this guy. Hopefully, not go too mad, because that's the thing. It's hard not to just basically cover them all in it. But you know, yeah, mold. Seriously, like you know yourself, his stuff is fucking surreal. You know, it's he says, "Oh, this is the blood thirster of corn," and it's a fucking toilet shooting fucking shit and blood out of it, and it's disgusting, but it looks class, and everything's all dirty and textured. I feel like he does something similar. So literally, on some level, I'm robbing his. No, let's just say I'm being influenced by him. You know, like first I was doing beads because I saw someone starting doing beads, so I did beads and all this kind of super textured stuff. It's hard not to just go mad and do it all in the texture paint and the crackle paste. But it was another lad as well, but it's the same thing. It just kind of saves there's a lot of work for it, for the surface of the miniature as well. And with dry brushing and the oils, it just comes out really nicely. But that's kind of it. I think I might pop off now. I said I'd do about an hour and get some paint on these guys. And kind of forced me to start painting them. But yeah, cheers for watching it, everybody. And I'll catch you in the next one, all right? Good luck. See you then, Bill. Good luck. How the fuck do I do this?